Good. Good to see you. I'm Mayor Mark Fountain. Thanks for coming down today. We're going to have a meeting that we're going to try to keep to about an hour and 15 minutes. I have a 1 hour meeting rule. If you can't accomplish it in an hour, you have to come back and do it again. So we want to keep things moving, and we've got a lot of information to impart here, but obviously we want to hear from you as well. So that's why we're here. Very quickly, I just want to recognize a couple of people here and thank them for being here. Chief Baker from our police department, to the chief, thank you for being here. And State Representative Jan Giggler is with us, and thank you for taking interest in being here. And of course, I'll always miss somebody. If I missed you, I will come back and give you your due recognition and kiss your ring and let you know that you're here. So we appreciate everybody being here tonight. It's good to see so many people with interest. I'm going to throw it over to Tom. And then we're going to work through our agenda, and then I come up a little bit later on in the agenda. So, ladies and gentlemen, Chairman of City Center, Tom Danbury.
I want to thank everybody for coming out today. When we first started to put this meeting together, I thought it would be good to get about 25 people here. And we got close to 100, I think, which is awesome. It shows that there's a lot of people that care about our downtown. And that's sort of what we're here to discuss today, some of the issues that we have in downtown. We have a few people lined up to speak today, and what we're going to do for public speaking is we're going to sort of hold it till the end of the meeting, because then we can sort of cover everything. And one of the things that I wanted to stress today in going through the agenda was that everybody got a feel for what's in place now. What do we have in place? How does it work? You know, how do we proceed from this point forward to make our downtown a better place? And that's sort of where I'm coming from. This is not a meeting where people come to complain, because if anybody's here to complain, it means you're not helping, okay? So I want people to think about how we move forward from here, and that's sort of what we're going to talk about. One of my goals as chairman of City Center is, out of this meeting, how many merchants are in the room, or people that own storefronts or social services businesses that are on Main Street in the downtown district? There's quite a few. We would like to start a branch of our downtown council and get some people to serve on that, which would meet about once a month. So if there's anybody in the room that's interested in doing that, please see Andrea on the way out, because we think if we have a strong merchant core, and that's what we really need to develop in downtown Danbury, is a strong merchant core, we can really move forward. So we'd like to get some people onto that, all right? I'm a firm believer, you know, I probably work 60, 70 hours a week. I work very hard at my business. I concentrate and I take great pride and ownership in what I do inside my doors. And the purpose of the meeting today is to say, well, how can we transfer that pride and ownership out onto the street, and how can we all collectively here claim ownership and take pride in downtown Danbury? So those are some of the things we're going to talk about. As we move through the agenda, Andrea Gardner is going to come up and talk a little bit about what we do with City Center. I have Lieutenant Brown here. He's going to talk a little bit about ordinances that are on the books. He's going to explain how those work, what the ramifications are on those. We have a couple of people here from some of the social service agencies and the shelters that are going to talk about how they work, because it's important for us to understand how those work. And of course, Mark is here, and Mark's going to talk about a lot of the initiatives and things that are going on in the city. So hopefully by the time we leave this meeting, we may not all agree on everything that we're talking about today, but by the time we leave this meeting, we all sort of have sort of a baseline to proceed from, and that's our goal today. So again, I want to thank you all for coming. I am so glad that so many of you turned out today. And again, we'll keep our public speaking and sort of do that at the end of the meeting. Okay, Andrea, are you around?
Here,
Andrea Gardner, our Director of City Center.
Thanks, Tom. First of all, welcome, and thank you so much for coming. It is really heartening to see the room full. And I've been Executive Director of City Center for the last 5 years. And people sometimes wonder why I do what I do. And frankly, it's for selfish reasons. I want to create a downtown that I actually want to participate in. I want to bring my friends and my family to celebrate, to congregate, to meet up. I also believe that the health of the downtown is reflective of the health of the community. I grew up in the greater Danbury area. When I graduated from high school, I'm actually celebrating my 30th class reunion next week. High school graduation reunion. I couldn't wait to get as far away as possible from Danbury. And lo and behold, I traveled extensely. I consider myself very well educated. And I could really choose to live anywhere, and I choose to live here. And it's just a wonderful community. First, on the City Center side, I'm going to do a brief overview. So those of you who might not have a working knowledge of what City Center is or why it exists can have that. First of all, City Center is considered a downtown special services district, or a DSSD. In most other states, it's also referred to as a BID, a business improvement district. And it's a taxing overlay within a certain boundary of the city. It's where property owners choose to impose a tax on themselves, and the city helps us levy that tax and collect it and redistribute it to City Center so that we can support our office. And our office looks to focus on design, organization, promotion, and economic restructuring of downtown Danbury. The property owners since 1989, when City Center was established, have really contributed over $4 million to help keep the lights on in downtown Danbury. And I really believe that this is one of the reasons that downtown, as far as an urban city, doesn't really suffer as many ills as some of our Connecticut cities do. Because the property owners have invested, and yes, we know things can always be better. There are empty storefronts, but frankly, for a city the size of Danbury, we don't have a lot of the urban ills that other communities have. We also receive some money, the money collected from the property owner tax supports the running of my office on the corner of 186th and Main Street in the corner of West and Main. I invite anyone to drop into what I call my fishbowl. It's got a really nice view of all the action that's taking place downtown. We also receive some money from the city, a modest amount, Mr. Mayor, to manage all that we do. We manage the green events, which includes all the Taste of Danbury, the summer series, Halloween on the Green. We also manage the holiday lighting program, and we supplement the maintenance of downtown Danbury through our maintenance guy, Eric Carr. You might have seen our sidewalk sucker out there. We also fundraise. We take the money that we get from support from property owners as well as the grant money, and we leverage that in the community through businesses and corporations to provide the underwriting for our events, which are family-friendly and free to the public. In talking to peers statewide, because there is an organization called Connecticut Main Street, as well as I attend national conventions and conferences on downtown development. We're really fortunate in Danbury. I'd like to emphasize the positive, which is that we have a lot of the big stones in place when you talk about setting up a platform for downtown development. First of all, we have an organization like City Center. Right now in South Norwalk, there's a movement to create a district in downtown Norwalk. We already have that in place. We have a walkable downtown, very flat. It's about a mile long and back and forth, very walkable. We have an attractive inventory of historic buildings. There are some communities that were really decimated in urban renewal in the 60s and 70s, but we still have a lot of our historic buildings intact. We have public transportation that comes to downtown via the train and the bus. We have traffic, 24,000 cars a day. Yes, we know they're not all stopping and patronizing our businesses, but I always kid my counterpart in Waterbury, Carl Rosa, that you can cross the street whenever you want in Waterbury. You don't have to wait for the turn signals because there is hardly any traffic. We also have a low crime rate. There are 3 downtown districts in New Haven, and I say this facetiously, but they would kill for our crime rate. We are nationally ranked as a safe city, and when I speak to WestCon students, as I do now, I've had for the last 3 years, to new incoming students and their parents, I emphasize that downtown is one of the safest parts, which it is in our city, and one of the safest cities and one of the safest countries in the world. So I'm trying to give you some perspective on that. And I think that's part of my list, yeah. Okay, that's enough. We also have some initiatives going on. I mentioned our calendar of events. We also partner with groups when we can, like the Connecticut Film Festival. A week before Taste of Danbury, we're partnering with the West Indian Culture Community to bring a West Indian Jerk Fest. We hope to add to our cultural events. We also have the Chili Winter Warm-Up. We have great partners with the Danbury Ice Arena and the Westerners in that. We're also initiating with the Danbury Parking Authority a parking wayfinded signage program. And we also started some community outreach, including conversations with Danbury Hospital, WestCon, and Naugatuck Valley. And one of the results of those meetings has been a commitment by Western Connecticut State University and Naugatuck Valley Community College for a banner program to line Main Street with flags of both those institutions and really help with the streetscape there and flag downtown Danbury as a community of higher learning. Looking ahead, we're going to start focusing more on the economic restructuring of downtown, which includes reaching out to the merchants. In the past couple of months, I've got a lot of inquiries from merchants on how they can better assist downtown and downtown's development, which was the impetus for this meeting. This meeting is an outgrowth of a meeting we had about 5 weeks ago with about a dozen people in the room. And so the energy is catching. And we also want to create a better network of stakeholders. To that end, I'm going to be passing around basically what was the check-in sheet. And those of you who are listed, if you could just write your email, and also we'd like to pull you and ask you where you heard about this, if it was through our constant contact, through the newspaper, the invitation of the mayor, word of mouth. And if we could just do that sort of quietly as the rest of the program goes. We also have available information on our farmers market, which is a wonderful thing happening every Friday, 10 to 4 at Kennedy Park. We now have a network of over 30 other organizations in what we're calling the Danbury Farmers Market Community Collaborative. The vendors at our market cite Danbury as their most successful market. We're doing a matching program that helps our most neediest in our community up to $6 market dollars a day, market day. And also the Regional Y is a wonderful program they're doing with their camp kids. These little kids walk from the school where they're getting instructions on healthy eating. They've got $10 worth of wooden coins to spend at the market. And it's really awesome when you see kids getting excited about peppers and wanting to know where the fruit is. It's going to have long-lasting and far-reaching effects in our community. I'm available for questions afterwards. My business card's available. I welcome your input, and I really do thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Andrea. We appreciate all the hard work that she does each and every day on your behalf and on our landlord's behalf and all the stakeholders on Main Street. Okay, so I guess the question really is, why, you're probably sitting there going, well, why am I here? What is this all about? And, if I had to share one thought, one idea with you is that while we, can cite a list of successes that we have had and continue to have on Main Street, there's always things that we want to do better. There's things that we believe we can do better. There's always ways that we want to evolve Main Street. And in this economic time, it's very difficult. There's not a lot of capital floating around. There's not a lot of raw dollars out there. So it's difficult to sort of have that vision, but it's also even more important to have that vision because when the economy turns around, when things start to pick up, we have a plan, we have a system, and we have the building blocks in place for the kind of success that we all want to see happen. So I'm glad that you're here, and I printed out this is a list of some of the things and items that we're working on currently. It has a nice little color thing on there. I like color stuff. And one of the first things I want to tick through these real quickly and then talk a little bit about some of the overarching issues that we think we need to continue to work on. First thing first is you need to know you are now part of the new zone downtown. You probably didn't know this. Your landlord maybe didn't tell you, but you are part of the downtown revitalization zone, or what we refer to as the DRZ. We like to call it, Ingrid likes to call it the La Zona, right, or the zone. I know Mike Callis from the partnership is here as well. And we really want to start developing marketing around the idea of the zone. Come into the zone, stay in the zone, party in the zone, eat in the zone, buy stuff in the zone, go to the library in the zone, all that stuff. We want to kind of start driving our marketing towards that concept, and that's what we're starting. So the DRZ is a definable area that encompasses most of Main Street, not all of it. It stops at just about the police station, heads south just about to where Elmwood Park is, on both sides of the street. It's bigger than City Center, but not as big as our central business district zone. Eventually we want to expand it, that's the goal. But right now, we just wanted to get off the ground with it and see how it works. So why do you care about that? Why is that important? It's important because any business that's looking for a zoning permit now has to reference the downtown revitalization zone. Any business that wants to receive some of the incentives that I'm going to tick off for you on here has to be in the DRZ. They got to be in the zone. So now instead of having a bunch of rules and regulations and ordinances that are all disconnected, and some apply to the street, some don't apply to that street, now everything links back to the zone. And our Director of Planning, Dennis Elper, is in the process of making sure that that happens that way. So it's our overlay zone that includes things like multifamily housing. We've changed parking in that particular area and some other thoughts. And then there's no requirement for on-site employee parking in the DRZ zone, which was always sort of a hang-up. I know parking's an issue, everybody wants free parking. We'll talk about that in a second. But anyways, it's some of the things that now apply to this new zone. We've reduced zoning and subdivision fees by 50%. So you come in with a business, with an idea, or you want to expand, and you need a zoning permit, it's now 50% less than it was. We're reducing your sewer and water connection and permit fees for you to help people become more marketable and more competitive. We are also now offering a deferral of assessment on a couple of new things that we don't do anywhere else in Danbury. One is offices, retail spaces, as well as recreational facilities are now all permitted within the zone. You can get a deferral on your taxes. So what does that mean? It means if you take a building and you put $150,000 of improvements into it, normally our assessor will show up the next day at my direction to charge you $150,000 more on your assessment so we can collect more money. Now we won't do that. You get 7 years of basically no taxes on the improvement to your property, depending on how much you spend in there. So the idea here is to be able to incentivize people when they're making a choice as to where to put their business. We'll come downtown, aside from a great low square footage price, you also can access these particular incentives that are in place. We also have a top-of-the-pile approach now to permitting for anything in the zone. So if you come in with a permit application from everything from moving a wall to building a new store, we're not going to look at you with that glazed eyes and say, yeah, it's about 6 months to get back to you, right? We understand time is money. You've got to get your permit through. You've got capital burning up. You've got workmen in place. The last thing you need is to be fighting with us over a permit. So we're going to work that as well. Item 6 is probably one of the biggest changes you'll see, and that refers specifically to our sidewalks. In the past, we have said to the landlords who own property anywhere in Danbury, you are responsible for the sidewalk that's in front of your street. And what's happened there is a sort of a hodgepodge of materials used for the sidewalk. Some people might use pavers, some people might use concrete, other people might just use asphalt. Some people may use nothing because they just don't want to do it. And so it becomes sort of a bone of contention, particularly in the DRZ and in the zone. What we're saying now is we're going to own, the city will take responsibility for fixing that sidewalk because we want a continuous looking streetscape throughout the zone. We want it to all look the same. What you'll see probably in the next 3 months is Foster Street and Fountain Street, all around where the new Head Start building is going, where the new bank is going, and I saw Maria O'Neill here. All in that area is all going to be streetscape with concrete sidewalks, granite curbing, and with decorative lighting. So we're going to own that. But on the flip side, we're going to ask you to do something. We're going to ask you to own the day-to-day maintenance of that little piece in front of your store, in front of your shop, in front of your business or place or your organization. You ever get out in New York City real early, like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning? What do you see now? Every merchant, every business owner is out there sweeping, hosing down the sidewalk, cleaning it up, getting it ready for the day. We want you to do the same thing. We're going to own the big money, the big dollar stuff, but we've got to get some buy-in from our merchants up and down Main Street. Why is that? Because we can't put a public works guy every 5 feet to pick up every candy wrapper that's thrown on the ground by our customers. We just don't have the manpower to be able to do that. We'll sweep it once a week in our current sweeping schedule, but you really got to own that front piece of your particular business or property. And that means if you have the detail employee to say, hey, when you come in, first thing you do is take a look at the entranceway to the store, take a look at the sidewalk. If there's a cup up against the curb but it's in Main Street, if you could pick it up for us, it would be greatly helpful to us. We'll be able to have a little bit better, a little bit cleaner looking downtown. Now we know that there are some problematic businesses out there that we've even approached them about the amount of litter that they generate, and they just refuse to help. I got a plan for that, so don't worry about that. So I understand I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's just something that you need to sort of put at the top of your head because, as I tell merchants all the time, nobody's coming in your store if they got to step over a pile of litter to get in there. They're not going to do it. They got too many other options. So if you could do that, we would really appreciate it. We have other fees that are proposed right now, licensing fees for development in the DRZ. Building permits will be reduced. EIC fees will be reduced. Engineering and fire marshal fees are going to be reduced as well. I talked about parking. On-site parking requirements are going to be loosened for folks to make things a little bit easier if they want to get that zoning permit as well. One thing that's not on here because it's not necessarily a zone issue, but it's really more of a more global issue is the issue that we've had over the years with the 60-40 rule for restaurants and bars, and it gets very complicated. But the bottom line is we're implementing something called an entertainment license, which we hope will be ready by mid-September. So the entertainment license is a new concept. We're the only city in Connecticut that will have this concept. So we're going to have to kind of work with it a little bit to make sure that it goes right. But the idea is, if you have an idea or a vision for something that maybe isn't going to serve food, but it's a club, a nightclub, we're going to let you open your nightclub. But you're going to sort of enter into an agreement with us by paying for that license. And that agreement is you're going to have bouncers outside of your club after 10 o'clock. You're going to take some responsibility for the safety outside your building as well as inside your building. You're going to be responsible for cleaning litter every morning around your building when it bubbles up, and not just sort of step over and hope that the city or city center and their cleaning staff picks it up. You're going to have to maintain noise standards so that you don't put speakers outside the building and blare it as loud as you can so you disrupt everybody else eating their dinner outside. There's going to be sort of some give and take in terms of that license that'll be able to give people and landlords flexibility to lease the property, but also give us some control over what happens. We had an issue over here with Horizons many years ago. That was a club that got opened right next door to this facility. And, we had 900 people show up on opening night. It was a circus. They were not interested, frankly, in following any of our zoning regulations, any of our rules. And it took us probably 3 months to shut them down. In fact, we had to have the police go down and bar up the door because they just refused to follow the regulations. However, we also have other people that came in with a really good idea, and because we were so draconian in our approach, they never could get over. So this we hope will sort of be a middle ground, if you will, being able to help those folks get over. So those are some of the things that we've worked on already. And of course, one of the things and one of the reasons that we want you here is we want this to be an opening dialogue, not a closing dialogue. I don't want to say, yeah, I met with everybody, and that's it. We want to have this meeting maybe on a yearly basis, maybe every 6 months if you guys feel it's worthwhile. I'm going to spend a lot of time walking up and down Main Street, and I'm going to go into the people that aren't here. I just, sometimes these meetings can be like parent night when I was teaching. You always see the good kids' parents, but you never see the parents you really want to talk to. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to talk to them and say, look, we want you to be part of the solution. We want you to be part of revitalization and renaissance, and there's a place for you at the table. And particularly in those businesses where people may feel that they're not welcome or that maybe their English skills are a challenge. We have people that speak Portuguese. We have people that speak Spanish. You name a language, I can find somebody that can speak it. So that's not going to be a problem. So those are why I just want to share with you that we want to start this dialogue and keep it going. You got to give me feedback. You got to let me know what you like. Let me know what you don't like. I mean, I kind of know some of the things you don't like, and I can take them off for you. But in general, I need to know that because then we can make adjustments in policy, adjustments in enforcement, and adjustments in other things that will benefit. Finally, the last thing, we recognize that our PD, and they'll talk in a second, have a lot on their plate. I mean, we really pride ourselves on our safety, our low crime rate, but they're very busy. So one of the things that we're going to do for the zone is we're going to hire, I'm going to commit to hiring somebody that works exclusively with property owners on quality of life issues. Kind of like if you're familiar with our unit, the Unified Neighborhood Inspection Team, we have a unit inspector that goes out to the residential neighborhoods and tries to mediate disputes, and we'll issue tickets and citations if necessary. The zone is going to have its own unit coordinator, its own person that you'll be able to contact and say, look, I've talked to this guy 3 times next door about picking up his trash. They're not listening to me. I'm just a store owner. I'm just a tenant. You got to handle it. And you'll be able to pass that issue off to the city staff person. He or she will be able to approach them, talk to them nicely, escalate that enforcement, and if it requires a ticket, it'll require a ticket. The ticket they can issue will be up to $250 a day. So it's not chump change. If they don't pay the ticket, then we can move to bring them to court and compel them to pay it or shut them down if we have to. We don't want to escalate it that high. We hope we can all work together. But it's going to give you another point of contact besides having to call 911 or having to call the police. Every time, it's not really a criminal thing, there's nobody's having a real issue here, but on the other hand, it's a real quality of life annoyance that is hurting your business, it's hurting your ability to attract customers, and doesn't help you in terms of communicating what you want Main Street to look like. So we're going to commit to doing that and putting some money behind that initiative. Other than that, I'm going to tell you this, we got a great downtown. We got a great downtown. Get your chins up. Be excited about what we have here. I travel all over the state and many other parts of the country, and I walked through this downtown and I said, this place was great. And I understand Danburyans can kind of be a little tough on each other. You ever hear that story about, I think it was Joseph that told me the story about the elderly gentleman sitting at the library on the bench, and a guy comes up to him and he says, hey, you know, old timer, you've been here a long time, you've seen a lot of changes in Danbury, haven't you? It's really about. And the old timer looks at him and says, yep, and I opposed every single one of them. So change is good, it's a positive thing, and the fact that you're here in this room is an incredibly positive thing. We're going to work together, we're going to do all the things that we need to do to have a successful downtown. So with that, I want to thank you for your patience, and who are we going to next? Eric, can you come here quick?
I want everybody to see a face here. This is Eric. He's our city center downtown maintenance guy. He's the guy that you see out there, sweeping the streets, cleaning up the alleys, and you know he does a fantastic job for us. He can't get everywhere, but he does the best he can. But next up we have Lieutenant Brown, I think, and Rob. Are you up here too? Rob Purr is our liaison for City Center Police. And they're going to talk a bit about ordinances and things that are on the books and the ramifications of those. So this is Rob, so you get a face here. You'll see him on bikes around the street. Everything that you see on the street, this guy sees double, all right? So he knows what's going on out there.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thanks, everybody, for coming out today. I don't want to hold up the meeting too long. I'll just give you a brief overview of where we are right now and some of the things that we can do moving forward. So I know you've heard it before, but you know, everyone in the room should be proud of your local police department. We have a highly professional, highly trained, dedicated police department, and the officers do a great job at what we do. So I'm not just saying that because I'm one of them, but we do a great job. Danbury is all notoriously one of the safest cities in the state and in the country per capita, and it's because of what the hard work that the officers do. So you should be very proud of your department and what we do every day. So in terms of downtown, I'll take a couple minutes to talk about that. We do have a 6-person bicycle patrol unit. Officer Perrin obviously is one of them. He's dressed right now in his bike patrol uniform. He was out on patrol today along with 2 other officers. The officers work a variety of shifts. We try to allocate them at periodic times at the height of downtown, when downtown is most populated, be it from 8 in the morning until 7 or 8 o'clock at night, when manpower permits. But again, it's a 6-man unit. We try to do aggressive patrols. At the June meeting, we met with some merchants and some city leaders. Some target areas were proposed to us and presented to us, and we have taken those target areas in mind, and we are aggressively patrolling those areas. We try and constantly check those areas as well as other areas of Main Street and White Street and the city center area. Again, we can't be everywhere. We have a finite number of resources, finite number of man hours, so we ask that you help us and be our eyes and ears. If you see something going on, be it a disturbance, be it someone sleeping on a sidewalk in front of a business owner's door, by all means, please give us a call and report that. You can call our local number. I'll give it to you right now. It's 203-797-4611. That's to report quality of life type incidents that we can come out and try and enforce. Some of those types of incidents include loitering, littering, panhandling, and public urination. Those types of incidents, we can come out, conduct an investigation, and wherever the investigation leads us, we can move forward with it, be it send the person on their way with a warning, take enforcement action in the form of an infraction, or leading up to a custodial arrest. But we ask that you be our eyes and ears, help us out, let us know what's going on. Some of the merchants at the previous meeting thought that, oh, we're being a burden on you by calling, we don't want to bother you, we don't want to bother you. That's not the issue. That's what we're here for. We will gladly come out and conduct an investigation when we know what's going on. We try to be here as aggressively as possible. We try to come out and keep a check on the city center area, but again, our manpower resources are not infinite. We can only be here so much, so often. So we ask that you help us out and become our eyes and ears. Also, another thing that we recently introduced through Sergeant Fabish is that our city center, our community conditions unit sergeant, we recently instituted a habitual drunkard initiative. It is through state statute. We notified all the local distributors of alcohol that there is a statute that forbids the sale to someone who is intoxicated, the sale of alcohol to someone who is intoxicated or who is a habitual drunkard. We ask that these liquor store owners take heed of that statute, and that we would be providing them with a list of local people who fit that criteria. As of right now, we have not distributed a list, but the liquor store owners are heeding that advice. They are not selling to people that they are deeming to be habitual drunkards. So we are taking some progressive steps in trying to reduce the amounts of public intoxication downtown. We did have a short lull between city center officers. Officer Perrin preceded Officer Usher, succeeded Officer Usher, who's back to the patrol division. He had to go through some specialized training to ride the patrol, patrol bicycle, and he's out temporarily for an injury, but he is here in full force. You should be seeing him on a regular basis, as well as our other 5 patrol officers, bicycle patrol officers. So again, we have a dedicated police department here. We hear your concerns, we know your concerns. We want to improve the quality of life downtown through enforcing some of these statutes. Again, loitering, littering, panhandling, and public urination. We need your help. We need you to be our eyes and ears and report these incidents. And we will respond. We will take appropriate action if warranted. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Tom.
Thanks, guys. They're going to stick around for questions, too. So, we're going to next go to Nikki Singer, and she's going to give us sort of an overview. She works for ART, the Association of Religious Communities. Is she here?
It might make sense if we all come up together.
You all come up together? Yeah, okay. And we're going to get an education as to how some of our shelters and food pantries work, okay?
My name is Nikki Singer, and I work for the Association of Religious Communities, which is located right around the corner of Crosby and Main Street. And I run something called the point of entry for the city of Danbury. So what I do is...
Speak up. I can't hear you. Closer to your mouth.
Is that better? Yes. Okay. So I run the city's point of entry, which is housed at the Association of Religious Communities. Like I said, it's around the corner of Crosby and Main Street. And just very briefly, what we do in my office is anybody who is homeless or at risk of becoming homeless can be referred to my office by anybody in the community or as a walk-in. And we try to help them get connected to whatever services they need, whether it's getting into an emergency shelter or getting into supportive housing, trying to get help finding an apartment. So that's in a nutshell what I do.
Hello, I'm Michelle Condorino. I'm the Director of Homeless Services for Catholic Charities in the Danbury area. So I run our street outreach team, and I also run the morning portion of Dorothy Day's meal service. But in addition to that, I co-chair the Greater Danbury Continuum of Care, and along with Melena Sanget from the Western Connecticut Mental Health Network. The Continuum of Care works at looking at the issues of homelessness and trying to find solutions, whether that be through housing, looking at some of our programs and encouraging some change. And we're always looking for partners. And I think that merchants in downtown, volunteers, just community members would make great additions to our team. So if you're interested in the issues around homelessness, it's really the best way to get engaged, to help find solutions, and maybe to educate yourself a little bit more about homelessness in Danbury. So if you're interested, I can leave cards at the table here. You can contact myself or Melena Saget, again, at the Western Connecticut Mental Health Network,
to learn more about meetings. Hello everyone, I'm Carrie Amos, the Executive Director of the Jericho Partnership, and we are right off Main Street on Rose Street. We are a faith-based organization, and we serve as an umbrella. So as an umbrella, we offer building space, funding, and volunteer support to other local nonprofits in Danbury. 70% of what we do focuses on the need of at-risk youth in the city, and the 30% focuses on the need of homeless and adults at risk. So regarding the homeless services that we do provide, we have an emergency shelter, Overflow, that is open from November through April. And we seek to support the city shelter, Dorothy Day, and the other shelters in town. We do open for 2 weeks every summer when Dorothy Day is closed to provide some overflow support while they are closed and doing their annual cleanup. We have case management services that we provide if the folks in town are already not receiving case management from one of the ladies behind me. And we've mobilized close to 3,000 volunteers. To date, those volunteers have been filtered into the other organizations that we support, but we're looking to expand that. And hearing Mayor Boughton say to the local merchants here, clean up the area in front of you, we're looking to partner with you. So if you need some support in street cleaning, give me a call because we do have a lot of manpower that can help assist you in that effort. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Elena Sanger and I work for the Western Connecticut Mental Health Network and I also co-chair the Greater Danbury Continuum of Care that Michelle talked a little bit about. But what I want to tell you about the Continuum of Care is that this is really the vehicle and the process that we can get grants for homeless, for housing and homeless services here in the city of Danbury. And today we have gotten over $1.2 million in grants. We've been able to house a lot of individuals who are formerly homeless as well as families as well. As Michelle said, we're constantly looking for people to volunteer as well, to learn more about our homeless services because we have a lot of organizations that are at the table and we also provide a lot of services here in Danbury. The other thing that we do every year, and we would love you to volunteer at, is our annual Project Homeless Connect. If you have not heard about that, that is an annual event that we put together over at Weston. And anyone who's either experiencing homelessness or is at risk of becoming homeless has the opportunity to come out for that day, have a number, over 60 plus agencies and service providers under one roof that they can connect with. Our committee is currently meeting, so if anyone would like to volunteer, please see any one of us here at the committee. And I'm going to turn it over to Sue.
Hi, I'm Sue Zaborowski. I'm with the City of Danbury's Health and Human Services. I'm the social service manager. We are what used to be called the welfare department. We offer a variety of services to residents of Danbury. If you're being evicted, foreclosures, you need security deposit, medical insurance, any kind of assistance and help will help you out on that. Also, we run a 20-bed emergency shelter and also a day center. The emergency shelter has 15 beds and 5 beds dedicated to homeless veterans. We also offer support services and assisting people with assorted substance abuse, mental health, and a variety of everyday services to anybody that is homeless or at risk of being homeless.
Thank you.
Real quick, these folks are, part of their job is to help manage, you might have read in the paper a little bit about the 10-year plan to end homelessness, and you may not really be familiar with that, but it's online, and I'd encourage you to read it because it has specific strategies that are designed to help people not just manage homelessness, but get them off the street, and that's really the goal here, right? Any community can manage homelessness. We've been doing it for 40 years. We hand out blankets really well. We build shelters, and but we never really get to the root cause of why they're homeless. What are the challenges they're facing? How do we get them off the street? How do we get them into a program? How do we get them into transitional housing, then into supportive housing, then into a permanent housing situation? These folks behind us didn't really talk too much about it, but they've been working on this day and night in terms of how we do that. We've had a tremendous amount of success in spite of some of the things that you've heard or not heard. I'll give you one example. We run a program during the December called Project Homeless Connect at Western Connecticut State University, where we pull together all of the care providers, service providers, and free services, and people who are homeless can go there. They get everything from dental work to counseling programs, to leads on housing, to gloves, to overcoats. It's a remarkable, remarkable event. Brings tears to your eyes, particularly around the holidays, but the caring and the generosity that this community has towards people that are less fortunate is unparalleled. And these folks behind me make it all happen. And so I just wanted to thank them and encourage them to keep up the good work. So good job.
Okay, at this point, we'd like to open the floor for conversation. So if anybody has comments or thoughts or ideas, we're all ears.
Now's the time. You got me.
Yes, just stand up, say who you are.
Carl Bailey. Silly little thing, but it is a big thing. Litter. I don't know what the ordinances are or the fines are, but when I go to another part of America, another city in the Midwest that is just cleaner, or you go to Germany or any European country, and there's no litter. I always say, gosh, if the first fine were a warning, or first offense, second offense is $50, and the third offense is $100, and you really have to pay it, there wouldn't be a fourth offense. Am I naive? It's a little thing, but it does matter when you're walking along or driving along. Just curious what's the...
It's a great question. We touched on litter a little bit earlier. One of the things that the officers have to do, they got to actually catch somebody dropping that litter on the ground to be able to write the citation or the ticket. However, conversely, there are cases where our blight officers, our unit folks, and particularly when we assign a person to the revitalization zone, that can say to a business, look, you got a lot of litter in front of here. We're gonna have to start giving you the ticket because you got to ultimately own this. I will also say we do write tickets. A couple of years ago, I was with Officer Utter, and an individual right out here on Patriot opened the door and dropped a Burger King, bag right in the middle of the street and pulled away. And Ken went out and wrote him, I think it's a $325 ticket for littering in the street. So they do it, but you gotta witness it. And in our list of problems that we're having, it gets to be, we can't conduct a CIS investigation on who put the gum wrapper down. But if you guys can help us, and if you see somebody who's a habitual person that dumps litter or does illegal dumping, pass that along to the unit or to the PD, and we will set up cameras, and we've done that in the past in outskirts of the city where we've caught people illegally dumping in the woods and things like that. So pass that along to us if you see the same person over and over again. We need you to be our eyes and ears out there.
And Carl, the other thing which we stressed earlier, it is important for us to all sweep in front of our storefronts. The first thing we do in the morning when we come in here is we sweep all the way around. 2 days ago, we scrubbed our sidewalks with a grease cutter. It's a city sidewalk, but you know what? It's my face. So we want to make sure we do that. When I come to work, I park on the 4th floor of the parking garage every day, no matter how full it is. And Debbie's here Pacific, right? You see my car up there? And I park there because I park as far away from my store as I possibly can, because space is closer. So that's what I mean about us beginning to take more pride and ownership in our downtown. We need to be the eyes and the ears. We also need to do a little hands-on work too. Okay, anybody else? Yeah, Dave.
Dave Monty. I run the Palace. I also work for Mr. Silva. Panhandling. I think a lot of the people who are merchants that are in the building have a concern of panhandling, and we see the same people day in, day out. There's shuffles. She's out there asking for money all the time and gets pissed that she doesn't get $1. She only got 27 cents. Like, how's that going to be handled? Somebody doesn't want to walk into the post office because there's people standing out in front of them, asking for money. Michael's One Stop, they're here tonight. People don't want to go in there and buy a soda because they're going to be asked, for money when they walked out. So, how do we handle that?
Well, how you handle it is to say no. When somebody's panhandling, believe it or not, what you have to say is no and keep walking. If you want to help that person, there's lots of agencies that are here today that can use your dollars more effectively than giving them money at that point in time. But the way to handle panhandling is for merchants and everybody that's in the downtown to just start saying no. and make that a clear message.
And if they're persistent, if it's the same person, I don't know who Shuffle is, but if it's the same person every day, call Rob, call John, the PD, and we'll go down and we'll talk to them. And tell them, look, you can't stand here. And there's one individual I know at North Street Shopping Center, I think it's the same person.
It's Shuffles.
Okay. Gave it a name.
Crutches? I don't know what you want to call it.
Right, terrible situations.
You see the same person
Yeah.
day in, day out,
Yeah.
and you see them, and they do travel, and you see them with the cell phone, and you hear that they get assistance, and that, but it's like, so you call the cops, and then the cops come down and take care of it, or do whatever that they have to, but, and, then today's Tuesday, okay, then Wednesday you see them again, like, what is it that can really be done about this? What's not even a solution, like, what's gonna stop them from asking?
Well, I mean, Tom's right. If they don't get any money, they're not going to ever ask anymore. I know, but that's easy to say because there's always somebody out there that throws them a bug or whatever. We've talked about a number of different strategies. We haven't adopted any yet, but some of the ideas that we've been talking about internally were instead of were to put out a box similar to like a mailbox and tell our patrons and our customers, look, don't give her or him money, put it in the box, and then that money will go to fund homelessness issues, citywide, the shelter and things like that. Those are some things that we've seen done in other cities. Denver, Colorado has probably the worst panhandling problem anywhere in the United States of America. They have put out these boxes all over the city. We're still trying to evaluate whether it actually works. But one thing is encourage people not to give folks money. There's plenty of services that you alluded to out there. The second thing is work on some police enforcement. When we put the unit person out in the zone, he or she can take a ride out and try to reason with the person and say, look, we don't want you here. If you're going to be here every day, I'm going to be back out here every day because we know that John, his team can't show up every second to try to target or pinpoint those folks and say, look, we just can't panhandle. It's just not good. So we're really going to try to jump on that a little bit, being sympathetic and compassionate. We understand it's tough times out there. But we do have services, as you've heard, that are available.
And trying to find somebody to assign a case management person to that can sort of look after that person and try and help them to move on, as opposed to not move on to the next block, obviously, but move on with their life to improve themselves at that point.
Thank you.
Yes.
Here. Emanuela from Unit. My question is, as a downtown business owner that also speaks a second language, or let's say an immigrant-owned business, quite frankly, as we walk around Main Street, we see that the majority of the storefronts now are owned by small businesses and immigrant business owners. And when you mentioned, Mr. Rennie, the question of some businesses being welcoming for people that don't speak English, let's be clear here. What do we need to do as immigrant business owners to integrate better into the downtown business fabric, because it's still quite two separate worlds. And we want to be a part of the meetings, and we want to be a part of the change. We don't want to also just be the problem of the non-English speaking businesses that are laying one store for the other on Main Street. We have things that we can offer, but we also are going to need different types of supports in place so that we can integrate a little bit better. So if there are any plans from the organization to help them support, do that kind of transition where they become more an integrated part of the downtown Main Street and not just a reference point for their specific ethnic communities. And to that end, my business, the Tribune, since we publish in 3 languages now, I will be putting our resources available if we can help the organization to translate menus or work with the businesses to help that process to happen, because everyone will gain from it.
I don't have much to add to that. I think that received.
You're not the ethnic population downtown with the businesses are not a problem. They're an integral part of the downtown. And as we mentioned earlier, I really want to get this downtown council going, this merchants association going, and we do need a strong representation on that from the ethnic community. So I'd like to talk with you about that one.
Hey guys, getting back to what Mr. Monty had to say.
George, why don't you say where you're from?
I own Nico's on Main Street, right? Thank you for everybody showing up today. Thank you for you guys also for Tom having and Mark for being here. You're coming up with a new zone, all right? And we have to protect the zone. We have to protect the people that come in and spend their money in this zone and they travel this zone. And we can't have quality of life issues that Dave just mentioned interfering with that zone. Okay, so between the police department and your office, Mark, we have to come up with some sort of system to protect our customers. So they don't go just to the mall, or just to a restaurant that has a parking lot only. You understand? They have to have, people have to have freedom of movement without being accosted. Okay, without being molested or what, without being bothered. Okay, so that's why Dave, what Dave said, I'm with, we have to protect people.
We're sympathetic. It's hard enough to get customers in this economy and then have somebody get bothered when
They're not gonna come back.
I will tell you that one of the things with that enforcement person we want to do is not have them necessarily working totally a 9 to 5 schedule. So, for example, I want to schedule that rotate on weekends and the evenings to have that personnel visible. And so if George gets a hot spot and says, look, there's somebody out the bottom, we're right on. You know, the person pulls up, nicely asks them to move, they refuse, write the appropriate tickets, they still refuse, contact the PD with dispatch the car. So we want to be able to do that also on what your busiest time, but it's not the traditional city time, business hours. And so we're hoping that'll help a little bit with it. We understand though that's a problem. We do.
Yes.
Marie Nesbitt from the Regional Y. I want to thank you for the sidewalk initiative because that's huge. To be able to get to the stores is important, and as we all wrestle with the obesity issues and the health crisis that we're looking at, being able to walk is certainly an important one. So I also wanted to follow up with some of the sidewalk markings and the crosswalks because I just was coming on this way by Brugger's and Papa John's over there. And that's a tough corner to start with, and there were 2 people waiting, 2 kids waiting to try to cross that street. So are sidewalk markings in that plan as well?
They are. If you notice in front of Thanks Union Savings Bank, in front of St. Peter's Church, we added in the rubberized. It's actually stamped asphalt that has a rubberized coating over it that feels better on your feet, wears a lot better. We're going to expand that down Main Street so that the crosswalks are more visible. We won't get to all that this summer, but we're going to chip away at it. And that intersection of Brewers is probably, it's dangerous. Some of it, it's just a bad layout.
Yeah.
And we may even look at laying out of some of these intersections like we did out in Germantown, where we configured that intersection there. So we're keenly aware of that, but we're also aware that there's a lot of sidewalks that are heaved that are still in the zone that the property owners are not going to take care of. So we're going to rip that up and put it in a sidewalk in. But then we're going to meet with the owner of the building, not the tenant. So you have got to commit to cleaning this. You got to own your property a little bit. So.
Can I also add that when you go, if you're going to plant trees, there's better kinds of trees to plant that don't cause some of that upheaval. As we've been kind of paying attention to that stuff in our work, that we've learned a lot about that. So I'd be happy to talk to you further about what kind of trees don't make they go down instead of out. And being relatively new, let me compliment you because I think Danbury is a great downtown. It's clean. I've only been in the area a couple of years, and I come from a different perspective, and it is a safe and clean city. So kudos for what is going on.
Your checks.
That gentleman in the back there.
My name is Charles Zara, Lane Trade. Just one of the problems that because I just opened the store, but one of the problems that I noticed from my store.
Charles, what's your store again?
Lane Trade.
Oh, Lane Trade, yeah, okay.
Basically, we'll have like kids coming in, and they're riding their bikes, so they'll leave the bikes in the middle of the road, like in the middle of the sidewalk. So people are like trying to like walk over it, or something. Is there like something like I spoke with Andrea about putting a bike rack, but she said that maybe we can't do it in front of the store, but across the street. But I still feel that the kids won't go across the street to do it. Is there anything other options that we can do?
We'll take a look at that. I'll talk to the guys in engineering, and if they can build a $10 million parking garage. It's a good point.
Yes, sir.
So I'm Matt, I'm course director of the Naugatuck Valley Danbury campus, and the question would be about lighting. There have been periods where street lights have been out for a long time. Our students, in fact, in staff park in the Patriot Garage, which is a bit of a distance from us. It's not a very well lit area between the garage and the school. We run classes at night. So I just wanted to ask in general if lighting is going to be addressed in the near future.
Well, having the campus there is relatively new. We will definitely take a look at it. We have had an ongoing Cold War with CLP about fixing the lights and who's responsible for fixing them. We have, every one of those are now tagged, so it's now, we have light pole 38 now. And as soon as we put up the decorative lights, somebody takes their car and runs one of them over. I don't know if you noticed that, but we're constantly repairing decorative. Each one of those is about $25,000 per pole. So it gets very expensive very quickly. Having said that, the issue is they're just not bright enough. We can look at increasing the wattage of the bulbs. We're doing that in front of WestCon. We had a very serious issue last year, a tragedy where one of the students got hit by a car and it was kind of dusk. So we're working with WestCon to increase the amount of brightness in the bulbs. We can look at those kind of strategies, and I'll mention it to engineering. I know PJ from my office is here, who's writing all this down, so not just fake blowing up.
Actually, Mark, about the WestCon incident, with Matt and his students going from Patriot Garage to the new campus on the corner of Main and Liberty, there's not a really good crosswalk for them to get across. I mean, it's with the same issues. That student was not in a crosswalk and he got hit. Is there anything we can look at?
Yeah, I agree with you.
To try and improve the students' safety.
We want to keep Naugatuck and have it grow there.
Oh, I think they're
So you're absolutely right. We'll take a look at that. Thank you.
I'm Mary McCormick, principal of St. Peter's Sacred Heart School. We're in the business of educating young citizens, making them good citizens of our country. We are a very diverse population. However, we struggle with being a diverse population because different people are afraid to come to the school because the school is on Main Street. There have been comments passed that because it is on Main Street and the demographics of Main Street have changed, people are afraid of sending their child to a diverse school. We have a large playground that our pastor likes to keep open so that it's an open community for all of the members of our community. We do have problems with people being in the schoolyard that don't really belong there, things that have happened in the schoolyard. We really need the cycling police or a patrol to be around the schoolyard area at times that after school hours when we have our after school program. But we're very concerned that people seem to be very concerned about the diverse population and being afraid to send their children to a school that has structure, values, responsibility. So I'm really just putting in a plug for St. Peter's Sacred Heart School. We love being on Main Street as along with this building. Our teachers are top of the line, and we thank you for listening.
By the way, diversity is one of the best educations we can have. Diversity is one of the best educations your students can have.
And the only other thing I'll tell you, when Chief and I will overlay statistics for crime in the whole city. This is the safest place in the entire city, is right here. You have a huge chance, God forbid, that you get some kind of criminal incident, probably in your neighborhood, if you live in Danbury, than right here in downtown. It's incredible when you look at the statistics, and we flag all those with our GIS system. So, but we really need to market that a little bit more, share with people that it is safe. Yes, we have a very diverse community, but a very safe community, and we're proud of it. And so there's some things that we think we can maybe help on that in terms of prospective students.
Hi, I'm Pat Zachman with the Women's Center, and we own the property 2 through 16 West Street, right next to the library. And I would echo, I've worked in downtown Danbury now for knocking on the door 20 years, and it's incredibly safe. And I want to say that the police department they're outstanding in terms of their response. But with that being said, I would just ask, I know at one point in time, a few years ago, because of where we're located and because the shelter's empty in the morning, a lot of our homeless population tends to hang out around the plaza, and they spill over, obviously. Some sleep in our back parking lot. Some look out for our property and tell us what happened the night before when I get there at 7 in the morning. But I know at one point in time, John, that the bike patrol had a very specific area that they could patrol and where they could and couldn't go. And as a property owner, I would just ask and get full permission if every now and then you guys could just cycle through our back parking lot, we would love it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, my topic involves employment, which of course ties into homelessness.
Who are you, sir?
Sorry?
You say your name, where you're from?
I'm sorry, Mike Packer. Now, Goodwill has established a job center in Brookfield, which is wonderful. Of course, it's limited to whether or not you've got bus money that day and whether or not when you get there, that all the computers are occupied. And then the library is limited to 3 sessions per day. I spoke to the former manager of the old labor department, which unfortunately we lost, and she said that Connecticut Labor Department might be supportive of donating staff and used computers if somehow some sort of subsidy could be allotted for maybe one of these baby stores being made some sort of a job center. And of course, the right person to cover. Thanks.
The comment from the lady from the educational, from the county school, that's exactly what I mean about the disconnect between diversity downtown. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I worked my whole life downtown. I am a tenant of the Women's Center. That's where our newsroom is. And we need to have more community conversations, not just this question of safety, but if you find out what the diversity is in the breakdown, and you start talking to your students about that in the school, and maybe to the parents, maybe that's another idea to go about it, because the diversity of downtown, let's not forget, when the mall came into town, that diversity is really what's been holding Main Street together, because when those malls, mom and pop immigrant shops open up, that's what really took down some of those boarded up storefronts. So again, whatever we can do as a community, from the diversity side of the community, if there is a side of that, and the general population, let's have more conversations together so that diversity is not necessarily linked with crime or a negative point of our community.
It's a constant marketing.
Yeah, it's not just diverse and constant crime.
Bill McNamara, Escape to the Arts, YMCA, Regional YMCA. For the fact that I agree with Manu. We have to stop being afraid of the diversity of downtown. I'd like to commend the bike patrol after the last meeting. We've been having a lot of people come by, a lot of cops come by and check us out. 3 things. I hope we don't get fined for the litter, because we do our best to clean up the bottles and the trash left on our back porch and the poop. It gets a little old. I think there's a difference between homelessness and drunkenness and harassment, which we see it. I mean, I see it on the corner. And I've heard people in the past blame the guys on Kennedy Plaza with day labor. Never had 11 years at Escape, never had a problem with day labor. It's the drunks. I mean, that's the issue.
We're aware of that, we're working on that. I think, when we talk about under the new procedures, we're not necessarily recommending to say, really, you got to, come around for anything. We're talking about people who habitually allow garbage to pile up to the point where it's become a safety issue for the store. And it's not good for them either. They don't make money either. People are making money. So I think that's what we're going to do.
But I'd like to commend the bike patrol. They're on the job.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Years ago, the police would not come and remove a person if you didn't have a no loitering or no trespassing sign. I hope those days are long gone, and that the bike patrol here are just meaning that we're inviting them to be active, and whether we have a sign or not, we like these problems to be addressed.
Well, just one thing about loitering, and Chief John, Lieutenant Brown, want to jump in. The loitering ordinances are applicable only in certain circumstances. The Supreme Court has generally struck down blanket loitering ordinances. People do have a right to be on the street as long as they're in the public right of way. So it is a little bit tricky. They've got to be careful how they apply it. Sometimes an issue, not necessarily yours, Marty, but in general, an issue may not rise to the level of being supported by the Constitution and the current law. So we got to be careful with that, but we try to act lawfully. And most times, people will respond if you just talk to them. Say, look, it's just not cool for you to be out this area. Perhaps you want to go to the other area. So we get it, and these guys are well aware of that, and they work on it. But it is a, we are doing a lot of work at Spring Street. I don't know if you saw that. We're going in new sidewalks, clearing it out, putting in new lights and new lighting so our officers can see when they drive through some of the activity going on in there. And I think that's pushed some people that would normally be sort of congregating there out to other parts of the city. But look, we're taking back every neighborhood. So, and we start with infrastructure, then we start with working with the neighborhood, and then if we have to add enforcement later on, we're going to do it. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Jean Campbell. I'm a resident of Danbury for 30-something years. First, I want to thank you again for having this meeting. It seems that this is the common theme. NPR, for the past month, has been holding a lot of discussions about how the towns and the cities around Connecticut are trying to improve their downtown areas, whether it's to build around transportation centers or to try to entice businesses to come in. You're right on target with what we're all talking about. As I don't own a business downtown, I have my own business, but I try to do things that will bring me downtown. And that always is one of the concerns as a resident, is to say, well, let's go downtown, well, what is there to do? So I know that you're working to encourage ways to keep us going, to come down and celebrate and dine and all that great stuff. One thing that was missing from some of your discussion here is that no one has said we're trying to encourage people to live downtown. And that is those of us who are at the age where we're ready to downsize and we're ready to sell our houses that are out in the suburbs. And we're actually starting to look at places to live where I can come out and walk. Just like they're trying to revitalize New Haven. They've done some, well, there's not a lot of traffic in Waterbury. They are trying to do some things there. They're doing things all over the town. So my comment is really, when you're ready to have that discussion about what would bring people to live downtown, whether it's my 30-something-year-old daughter who teaches in the school system and wants to live out on her own in an affordable place to live, or you're like myself who wants to get a 2-bedroom condo that doesn't have to be luxury, but has to be functional so that I can get out and I can do things. Talk to the residents so that we talk about this all the time. So come and speak to the citizens and let us tell you what we would like, or we would like to see, what will bring us downtown, what will make us want to come here, because we do want to come here. I just had lunch at the Ortega's.
Very good.
Great little place.
Very
Nobody knows it.
Very good.
I've been there 4 times. There's hardly anybody in there. You should go there. It's really good. But it's a great little place.
You should go there with my Ted.
About him struggling and trying to keep that business going. So my interest in coming to these meetings is to find out what successes you are doing to entice us all to come down for those special occasions and maybe not so special, but also do something that I would want to stay in Danbury in my golden years. Okay, thanks.
I just want to say, Gina, we couldn't agree with you more. A lot of our incentives are geared towards encouraging market rate residential housing downtown. If you've ever visited Baltimore, they took one of the worst neighborhoods in Baltimore, and they did just what we did here, which is put in a tax incentive program to encourage housing to be built. And now it is the trendiest neighborhood in the entire city. People fight to get in there. And just across the way, if you look at Brookside Apartments, which are on Crosby Street, somewhat controversial. We gave a tax deferral for them to build market rate residential housing. Over half the building now is not rented by students. It's rented by full-time residents that are there every day. And off that, we spun off of Ruger's, Papa John's Pizza, dance studio, because those people that live there demand those services. They want a coffee shop to go to. So we're with you. We did get waylaid a little bit by the economy. We had a great project at Kennedy Avenue. We couldn't pull it off given the crash of '08, but we're hoping to kind of jumpstart that and get that going again, so that people downsize. You know, and by the way, more people live in downtowns now than live in the suburbs.
Yes,
So
they are.
there's a Main Streets have become in vogue again. We want to capitalize that. I want to get you living on Main Street.
But you know, because do it before I start looking at Richfield.
Ah.
Because those are places that are walkable and people can go to. So, you know, Baltimore's great, but look at Peekskill, New York, and look at towns that are more around the neighborhood.
I think we're gonna wrap it up. Can we, Lisa, go?
My name is Lisa Scales, and I'm the director for the Housatonic Valley Cultural Alliance. A couple of things I want to say here. I'm so glad to hear your comments because opportunities that are ahead of us, I think, is something that's really heartening about what we've been talking about here today. There are a number of markets that I think would be interested in living downtown. Our organization is based on town. We're a regional group. I grew up here. I love the fact that other people have mentioned that this is one of the safest places to live. I still feel that way, even with all the changes over the last, X number of years. I'm not going to say how long I've been living here. But there are artists, for example, and young people who talk about cultivating students that are coming out of our universities. I have a son who, I've raised, and he has a number of times have said, I'd love to be able to come back to Danbury to live. It's a great place. I'd love to be able to one day raise my family here. Can't afford it. What is there to do? And the arts community is a wonderful resource for the city. So I want to commend the work that City Center does in the city and all of these efforts that have been made at this point. But I also look forward to what's coming. I think there's going to be a lot more of it.
We're going to cut it now because we're running long. So what we'd like to do is thank everybody for coming today. We are going to have more discussions like this down the road. Speaking of the arts, there are flyers. There's sometimes concerts out here if you want one of those. If you're interested in getting involved with our downtown council, please do so on the way out. Happy to speak to you. We really want to get motivated, get everybody involved, be our eyes and ears on the street.
We're going to call you back in. So.